Good evening, Patreon. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me tonight is Brandon Grimm.
As usual.
And Austin the Day Ghost.
What's up?
And it's time for more Geekvolution After Dark. It's been a little while since we've done one of these, and it's time to bring it back. Geekvolution After Dark is back, everybody. And we have the entire cast of Cap Loves Brandon plus Austin the Day Ghost.
I'm also here. That's correct.
We should also have you on a Cap Loves Brandon just to throw the whole goddamn thing off.
Just to throw a monkey wrench in the whole operation.
Yeah, and it'll just
Because
say like
fuck it.
plus Austin.
Or no,
Cap Loves Brandon,
but not Austin.
plus Austin can come too.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Austin?
Said it should be, but not Austin.
Oh, you want to just lie?
Well,
But
no,
then-
that's the truth.
Then you're there. Oh,
No,
you mean like?
Cap
well, but
loves
you're-
Brandon, but not Austin.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant like you're not there. I was so
Oh
confused.
no.
I got what he was laying down. I was picking it up.
Yeah, I'm a little slow on the uptake today. I don't know. I'm
It's
already
alright.
kind of out of it. I feel like it's like 3 in the morning already. I don't know.
Thank God it's not.
I'll
Yeah, no
just
kidding.
say, like, my diet has been kind of off again the last, like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. Like I've gained a few pounds. I haven't been exercising as much as I was, and I'm trying not to like totally lose myself again because I had made like a ton of progress and I was getting in really good shape. And then like what happens with a lot of people, you know, Christmas and things happen, and yeah, I'm at like a birthday party and I have one piece of cake.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I guess I eat cake now. And then, you know, I'm accidentally
Moderation.
having more of that than I was before. And, you know, you start... I can't... Have I had this... Have I given either of you guys this allegory that I've come up with recently?
I don't know.
Okay, you know how... This is not my topic. You know how people have like, everybody has an internal clock?
Oh yeah.
I have learned... This is how addicted I am to sugar, okay?
Okay.
Like, sugar's like cocaine. And like it just
Yeah.
is that way. It's just an addictive substance. But it's really bad with me. So like people have an internal clock. I have an internal menu.
What?
This is what I've come
That
to.
is not at all where I thought you were going.
I have not heard this. No.
I have an internal menu, and what I mean by that is I can keep myself to these are the things that I let myself eat, and these are the things I don't until I have that thing I don't eat one time, and now it's back on the menu. So if I see it,
Oh.
and again, I go, oh, well, we eat this now. And it's very difficult
Well, okay.
to take it back off the menu.
What if you changed your mindset?
I just see in your mind the orcs from the Two Towers that yell, "Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys."
But like, you kind of get what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I do. But what if instead
No, I'm
of,
asking Austin because he's just laughing at me. Like,
Because it's funny. I've never heard anybody say that.
I haven't
an
either.
internal
It's
menu.
fascinating.
but I had to articulate it like that before I understood my own psychology with it.
Could you change your mindset though to help with that? Like, say, you know, you see cake, so now it's something that's being served at Shea Logan's, if you will. Captain Logan's.
Captain D's. Yeah.
Captain D's nuts.
Oh shit.
He says Brandon is not a good person to give sugar advice.
So
I wasn't gonna
I'm
say
not
that. but-
I'm not a sugar guy. There's very few things I eat sugary. Coke being a notable drink exception.
Right.
No, I was gonna say, what if instead of it is now served on the menu,
Yeah.
you thought of it more like, well, this is just once monthly special they have.
See, I'm not good at that, and that's the thing is that it's entirely, like I said, I had to like articulate it that way. It's not
Yeah.
like it's a conscious thing. Like it's
Okay.
it's completely like subconscious.
Gotcha.
It's just like what you allow yourself to do versus what you don't, and for some reason I guess the point I'm making is the first time you decide you're not having this thing, it's very difficult to take it, like I said, off the menu. And then you've had it again, and now it's just much easier to keep eating it. So as difficult as it was to get it off last time, especially if it's something you're kind of addicted to, it's as difficult to take it off again. You know what I mean?
Suggest my addiction.
So that's
to caffeine.
That's the tough thing.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is you don't have the thing with sweets with other things, but caffeine is not as addictive as sugar is, and I really wonder if your thing with Coke is a caffeine addiction, because there's a lot of things with caffeine that don't seem to be as addictive, depending on who you are and your personality and stuff.
It could be a sugar thing. I mean, I do like the taste.
Probably just all the mix of everything.
Yeah.
Where,
I'm just saying.
No,
like,
you're absolutely right.
Don't fall into the trap to assume it's caffeine. It may not be.
No, you're absolutely right, because I mean, addiction's addiction, so I can't really remove myself from the two between. So
maybe they started putting cocaine back in Coke.
Yeah, I think they never took it out, actually. I think...
I watched a movie the other day. It's an Italian movie. It's called Demons, and there's a part...
Okay.
It's like a random side plot that doesn't come into the main story for like an hour. But there's just these like 4 hoodlums hanging out in the car, and they have a Coke can with a straw, and like they're just sipping it like constantly the entire movie. And then at a certain point, I realized, wait a minute, that's actually like it's a Coke can full of cocaine.
oh my god,
It's awesome.
Jeez.
wow.
I was like, how have I never seen that joke done anywhere else? That's so good.
I cannot see myself ever trying a hard drug like that.
No, I mean, I've never even tried pot, and I don't drink or smoke tobacco, so...
That's perfectly A-okay, man. I don't drink, I smoke weed, but that's,
Oh, yeah, and I don't have that, like, oh, you people, like, that a lot of people do.
Does
Like,
anybody
my
else...
one cousin's a giant pothead, but, like...
Does anybody else
cool.
feel like
That's
we're
fun.
having like a rock paper scissors contest with addiction? Where it's like Austin doesn't do any of these things. Brandon,
Sobriety beats pot.
yeah. What means like Brandon does pot, I drink. Like as soon as you're like I don't drink, and then he goes, well I do weed, and I'm like, well I drink. It's like rock paper scissors.
Okay, so first of all, we got to figure out who wins alcohol or pot. But then, in this scenario, are you saying that sobriety wins both? Because then it like completely throws the game off.
That does though. Like, yeah, because what beats sobriety? Because I want to say your paper, your abstinence from all of it is like paper. But then what cuts paper? Weed? But then that would suggest that you then take. Okay, so
No, okay, I got it.
So it doesn't work. It's not rock paper scissors.
I figured it out. Sobriety beats alcohol because paper covers drink, but weed rolls paper. So
oh, that's awesome! Weed rolls
and
paper.
drink disintegrates paper. Wait,
well,
paper
you
covers
pour it on
drink.
the weed, and then
Wait, you have to have 3 though. What was the? Okay, start over
You got
again.
drinks, sobriety, and pot.
So sobriety beats drink because it covers drink.
It covers drink.
Drink
weed rolls
has
paper.
to be paper.
No, weed.
Wait.
Drink beats weed. You pour drink onto weed and it like
goes
dissolves.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was missing. And then the weed rolls paper. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was
There we go.
that was
I'm
quite
all
the
for this.
that was quite the mic drop, Austin. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Weed rolls
Yeah, but
paper.
Since it's 3 people playing with 3 options that are set in stone, it's a tie every time.
Well, we wouldn't all 3 play simultaneously. We just
But
each
we're also only
represent
allowed
what
to use
the
our specific
So
one.
wait,
Yeah,
Austin beats
we're
you,
just
you
each
beat me, I beat Austin.
representative of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the circle of
As
Canadian
we are
violence.
right now, and then if we decided to play it as a game, then we could choose which one we were going to do.
I call it the circle of Canadian violence.
And then the question is, like, see, I think Austin, if he was playing the game, this is just preposterous. If Austin was playing the game, he would be more likely to go to weed because he doesn't do it. So he's not gonna pick.
What does that mean? He
abstinence.
doesn't do drinking either, so
Yeah, exactly.
how could he be more likely to do weed
Am I like
because
that
he doesn't
kid
do
that's
it?
like
He'd be
rock,
more likely
paper,
to
scissors,
pick
paper?
weed or drinking
They switch to win.
because weed seems like the more extreme of the two,
Does
and that's Austin's sense of humor. So, well, like a high tends to last longer, and all of that. Like,
I mean, if we could do like black tar heroin, I would go to that because that would be the
It's-
funniast option. So
Brandon, I don't
yeah.
want to split hairs. It's more extreme in the sense that one of these has is now sometimes illegal and one of them is not. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we're still in a prohibition for weed for sure.
Not here though.
Okay.
God bless Canada.
So anyway, patrons, we want to say thanks as always for all the support. We're trying to give you a little bit more, actually quite a bit more content exclusive to Patreon. Brandon and I are going to try to continue Cap Loves Brandon twice a month. And on the off weeks from that, we're going to do this show. We're going to do Geekvolution After Dark at least once, if not twice a month. So we will try to go as weekly as possible on Patreon. Occasionally there might be a week that we have to miss for whatever reason, but we're going to try to give you at least 3 weeks a month now of Patreon exclusive content. I've got a baby in the house. Things are complicated, but I felt like we weren't giving you guys enough stuff for your buck, so we're going to do our level best. And it's just a lot of fun hanging out with these guys, and that's what these shows will be. So quick commercial if you haven't checked it out yet, because I know more folks are going to take a look at this show probably. Cap Loves Brandon, we're doing every other Tuesday right after the newly revived Star Trek Club. We're watching through the Dominion War, through Deep Space Nine. We've started in the middle of Season 5. We're going to go all the way to the end. We're going to do that, like I said, every month. We're watching 2 episodes. And then right after that, Brandon and I are coming over to Patreon, where we're going to try very much not to split our wrists while we were watching Star Trek Discovery, and if we go long enough, we'll watch some of the other new Trek shows as well.
I'm hopeful we'll get there. We talked about watching in production order.
That's what we're talking about right now. We've only gotten through the first 2 episodes of Discovery. Since we're not going to do that show weekly now, we had talked about doing it that way. We're going to probably start going to 2 episodes of that if we can handle it. As far as, I mean, we won't be able to handle it. It will be the worst thing ever, and I'll bash my head.
Bad.
You'll get to see me for the first time bash my head.
I'll just have
on my desk during the show and bleed from the head.
I'll just have flashbacks to when I helped you take care of the twins, because that's when we watched it. Was when I was coming over helping you with them.
Let me get through my commercial, Brandon. So anyway, the only thing I'm concerned about is just having to stay up real late when my wife goes back to work. So we're gonna try to do two of those a show if at all possible.
You can modify the time if you need to.
Well, not if we're doing it after Star Trek Club is the only thing.
Well, no, that's true.
We'll talk about all of that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into topics now, and we'll start tonight with Austin's topic.
Start with Brandon's topic.
No, I want to start with you, goddammit. You don't want to start? Have you still not chosen a topic?
I'm working on it.
Weed beats sobriety. Your topic starts.
What do you think about the show is going to make you suddenly come up with a topic when you've racked your brain all day? This is the first of the return of the show in a while, and you can't think of a single topic.
Because I was expecting it to be Thursday, and it completely broke my mind on thinking of topics. I'm sorry.
We should look. I'm sorry. Okay, I've had to change my schedule around real hard. If we did it Thursday, we'd have to start at like 11 or midnight.
But I'm good at pulling things out of my ass, so if Brandon does his topic, I can come up with something in the meantime.
You should have already had a topic.
I'm thinking maybe we should just call the whole goddamn thing Cap Loves Brandon, and then in parentheses occasionally just throw Austin's name at the end.
Well, no, like he said, but not Austin.
But not, yeah.
But not Austin.
We weren't recording.
Well, what are some interesting things you heard about this week? Pick one and...
God, what are some interesting things I heard about?
Oh yeah, that's a good way to spark the imagination. You start, Brandon. We'll start with your topic, and then hopefully.
Well, the weather outside is frightful.
So my topic.
We're past Christmas, sir. We're past Christmas.
Post-Republic sympathies of those who remembered after the fall of Rome, both from inside and outside the realm.
The fuck are you talking about?
No, but seriously. No. So
what just happened?
How do you guys ever think about, like, a lot of times, like with the fall of Rome, civilization basically in that area, just Western civilization collapsed.
That was actually your topic?
So it's tangential. I was just trying to be funny. It was supposed to be really long-winded and pompous and windbag. Anyway, my actual topic, it does kind of play into this.
Is anybody else completely lost?
No, I think about the fall of Rome on a daily basis, so we're good.
No, so when Rome collapsed, we lost a civilization, Western civilization, lost a ton of technology. It went back, it just reverted. It reverted things to a state.
Can I guess your topic? Can I guess your topic?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna guess this topic, and we'll see if I'm right. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'm being an asshole, but I want to see if I'm right. My guess is your topic is if Rome hadn't fallen, where would technology be today?
Yes.
Yeah,
Nailed it. So basically, if Rome hadn't fallen,
Sorry.
and
I got way ahead of
we
you.
had progressed on this. No, this is good. It means you might have something to say, which makes me pleasantly surprised. Not because just that you were able to come up to that point.
I've
where I
considered
was
that a
coming
lot.
from.
I studied Rome back in college some, so
Okay.
that's a thing I've thought about.
Yeah, so if this hadn't happened, ergo, later things wouldn't have happened. They would have happened differently. Like if civilization hadn't collapsed and we'd kept with the technology. In ancient Rome, there was a device. It was considered a toy. And it was this metal sphere that had these two outlets that came out of it, and they faced two different directions. And it was on an axle, basically, and they put water in it, and they put it over a flame. And the pressure of the steam would cause it to spin. Now, they didn't know why this happened. They didn't understand. They may have understood the principles involved, but it wasn't like, science post Isaac Newton. Well, if they had even thought to apply this to get something to move under the power of the steam, like, that would have revolutionized the ancient world. They would have been able to do things we could do today 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So just that alone could mean the difference between we're living in what would be our 31st century.
And you
versus
can't
the
tell me they
21st.
don't figure out electricity.
Right. No,
some
exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. So this kind of thing fascinates me to this
No, they
point.
invented modern plumbing 2,000 years ago.
Oh, they did. They still find stuff in Pompeii all the time.
Yeah.
I love Pompeii. It's
Yeah.
freaking so cool.
Yeah, I'm rusty. It's been a while. I miss looking into that stuff.
Although I love, though, like the ancient civilizations, they loved lead pipes, and it just makes me think of that episode of TNG where they think Data's the mountain man, and they have all that ore that's radioactive, and
Yep.
Data can. Like, it makes me think of that when they used their lead pipes back in the ancient times. But no, Pompeii, Rome had running water.
Is that the same episode where they name him Jaden?
Yes,
And
as a matter of fact.
back when that sounded like an alien name, and now it's like one of the most popular names. Fucking every male kid born now is named Jaden.
Jaden.
Well, if I've learned anything from the last year, if Rome hadn't fallen, time travel would just be a regular thing, because apparently in Indiana Jones, that caused the time travel machine to be locked away. So
Wait,
Yeah,
the latest
yeah.
Indiana Jones?
Right? Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
Adam March said that Brandon just watched Isle of Destiny. Like you apparently tapped into the plot of that. I have
Well,
no.
that idea
I have
is
no
2,000
intention of
years
looking at
old,
that,
so
but- yeah.
Hollywood doesn't have any new ideas.
Exactly.
No, but this weighs on my mind every once in a while because I'm just like, it fascinates me especially with where
Well, there's a
we've
reason
come.
they call it the Dark Ages, right?
Yes,
You know what I
very
mean?
much so.
History has chronicled very clearly that we took a number of steps back at that
Oh,
point in
yeah.
history.
But meanwhile, other civilizations were thriving.
Yeah, but they still didn't get to where Rome probably would have
Oh
had,
yeah, not at all.
had the empire not fallen apart.
Yeah.
I mean, this is sort of, kind of, but in a bit of a goofy way. We're going back to Star Trek again. Apologies, but what Bread and Circus is about.
Okay, yeah.
TOS episode where they find yet another Earth-like planet, but this time it's Rome with TV cameras, and they still have the gladiatorial games, but they're televising them now. And so the big question is, if Rome hadn't fallen or fell a lot later, would they
What
have?
things would have carried over?
Well, so, my big question is like socially, so like they get to all those technological advancements quicker, but do they get to a more enlightened, like progressive sensibility at any point, or do they do the bread and circuses thing where they still, are, like killing criminals in front of audiences for sport, but they're also like really far ahead technologically.
I mean, all you're describing is a better society in general. You've yet to nail a thing down that is worse than current society. So,
well,
like the Roman Empire doesn't fall earlier. How long do we have slavery as an idea? And, that sort of thing.
But to what end does to what end do humans invent technology inherently? What would have been the same? What would have been different?
Well, that's one of the things.
And would we have already gotten to a global warming point 1,000 years?
Boy, that's a great question. Yeah, how would we have affected our environment back that far? Or would they have come up with a more efficient way to do some things that we do now, because commercially, like all of this kind of has to do to some degree anyway with the like politics of the day and what kind of a society you have, right? Like, because there are a lot of improvements, arguably, that we've not made, or that we've that we've stalled out because of individuals and companies that profit by not moving forward on it, right? So, like, we continue to use fossil fuels. Could we have pushed harder to where we wouldn't need them by now, to replace them with more solar, wind, and electricity, other things that we can use in place of fossil fuels? Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't have, and this is not me going on like an anti-capitalist tirade, it's just more complicated than that, right? But if you didn't have profit motive in the middle of all of that, it's likely, if something else is propelling us forward, it's likely that that's not in our way. So I guess what I'm saying is, if an empire, and this is where Austin will say, well, yes, an empire is better. We should just still have that. If an empire comes to all those things, and you have like one guy at the top making all the decisions, and it's just about either, take your pick, his improving his own life, or he actually cares about his subjects. Either way, maybe Rome comes to some of the things that we maybe ought to have by now, and then you don't mess up the planet because you already have renewable energy like we don't right now, and you're not putting so much smog into the air, and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I mean, as much as Caesar consolidated power,
I was not prepared for this.
As much as
neither was I. Yeah.
And I feel a little bit proud of myself for all the rambling I'm doing. That sounds.
All I know is that I do agree an empire is better, because from my research, an empire gives you the original trilogy, a democracy gives you the prequel trilogy, and rebels give you the sequel trilogy. So.
Wait, when you say rebels, you mean like anarchy? Oh yeah, sure, like a rebellion, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the rebellion beats the empire, and you get the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, but a rebellion usually leads to one of those things, right?
It's the rock, paper, scissors.
That's not a sustainable, type of government. That's a
but
temporary status quo that gets you to a form of government.
Because the government in that world is vague.
I don't know what the government in that world is.
But
the new republic.
As much as Caesar consolidated power, yes, Rome was an empire, but it was a republic.
Right.
But still, like, as you said, the politics very much so.
No, and I guess the way. Sorry, I'm glad you said that, because I guess the way I was saying that, I was kind of assuming that at some point you still have an emperor, as opposed to as opposed to like a group making decisions.
Oh, right, but I mean,
you're right.
It wasn't just him at the top. He controlled the military and stuff, but it wasn't just him at the top. But these
no, you still had a senate.
There's an interesting. Tell me if either one of you have ever heard of this. thing called the Antikythera mechanism?
No.
That's what the thing is in Indiana Jones 5.
Is it?
That's the MacGuffin. Yeah.
Is it? So the
Yeah.
Antikythera mechanism. Well, that I'm gonna have to see this movie. It was found off of a coast. I'm drawing a blank on which coast it was found off of, but the thing is thousands of years old. It's like 2,000 years old, and it just predates what we believe could possibly have been the technological. It takes such an advanced technology to create what we have found this to have been. It's encrusted and corroded, but they've been able to reconstruct parts of it. And it uses these gears and these internal workings, and it had a lever that you would wind, and it's basically a computational device. You know, it's a computer from 2,000 years ago. And it absolutely shatters all records for technology. Like, these things, had that made it to its destination and not been in a shipwreck off the coast, what would that have done? It's mind-boggling to me to think where we could have been or couldn't have been, and if we could have saved ourselves from these things. Or society always suffers resets, but then advances further than always suffers resets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so hard to tell exactly where you're going to go from that point.
Yeah, one assumption I would have to make is if Rome. I mean, like I said, I don't think it takes them that long to figure out the light bulb. I really don't. And if they're able to do that, and then eventually come up with, the microchip or some kind of computational device, right? I don't think, let's just all things being equal. Again, like the Republic version of Rome sticks around a long time. They don't have any reason to hold back space travel.
Oh, sure. But you bring up a good point, the light bulb. Artificial light is huge for technological advancement. That allows a 24-hour lifestyle, like a 24-hour civilization, really. Where once.
Oh, so you're saying there's more time in the day to keep advancing?
Yeah, because you can do things at night rather than by candlelight or bonfire, things of that nature.
That's a good point.
You're just able to do so much more than you ever could just from like when Thomas Edison lit up his Menlo Park location. It was astronomical. People came from everywhere to see it. It just changed everything, And we had like art style lamps. His was the first incandescent lamp, but we were already doing stuff with other types of electric lamps. He just invented the incandescent light bulb. So,
I would also suggest that if Rome gets to electricity before anybody else does, and this is a big if, but and they can keep like internal power struggles to a minimum.
Well, they conquer everybody, right?
They conquer everybody.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to go to, because you mentioned space travel. Is the Roman Empire more likely to be like, hey, we need to spread outwards into space, put resources into that so we can conquer more?
Well, with the technology inevitably comes science, too. People are going to start to need to want to learn how these things work. Or somebody's going to figure out... It's like the guy who invented perspective in drawing. He was looking at a place in London or a building somewhere, and he's looking at the building, and no one's ever drawn in perspective before. And then suddenly he draws an accurate picture of the building, and it helps usher in the Renaissance. What are you gonna do? That's monumental.
Yeah. No, that's a super cool topic. You keep picking stuff that I want to talk about for the whole hour, and we want to have some more topics
Austin
here.
figured something out. We can.
What would happen if the Egyptian Empire didn't fall?
What if they built a pyramid twice as tall?
What if they built a spaceship pyramid and launched it into the sun?
But yeah, there's so many factors.
Well, we wouldn't know about it.
Like I said, a lot of it would have to do with what you developed before you went to war with what other civilizations, I think. Another thing I meant. Sorry, I'm going to backtrack for a second because I meant to, when we were talking about bread and circuses and stuff, I meant to make this point too. And you said something that sparked this, Brandon. Science fiction drives me. It makes sense that in you have to kind of have conceits when you're telling stories, and especially in something like Star Trek, where you've got like these in individual episodes, right? It makes sense that you would have to kind of simplify things, but it always drives me nuts where we basically assume that every culture would advance technologically the same way, or nearly the same way. So whenever you come upon a like pre-warp species in Star Trek, and other sci-fi things do this too, you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
It's always like, what era are they at in their society? And I'm like, why would the eras always look the same?
Right, exactly.
Like, they always look the same. It's always like you got like the Flint and Steel era, and you have the like pre-industrial society, and then you it's always the same.
I mean, granted, a Class M planet. So let's look at the Class M planet for a second. It's categorized that not because of what it's made of, but because of its atmosphere and what kind of life it can support.
Right.
So
you gotta have water, you gotta have breathable air.
Now, saying that, it's not classified about what that planet's made of. Our planet's made of nickel and iron. Another planet might not be made of nickel and iron. So there's no... it's a conceit just to say that they went through a Bronze Age.
Yeah,
you know? Because they may not have bronze. Now, we look at these... Lots of planets are made of similar things. There's a lot of... There's only so many elements.
To be fair, though, in Star Trek specifically, Class M means Earth-like.
It does.
So they probably have more or less the same elements.
That'd be a good question to look into, what exactly that means, because I've always assumed that it was more along the lines of just the kind of life and the kind of atmosphere it can support.
But I mean, it's a conceit, but it's Earth-like, so that we can go shoot anywhere we want to and say, look, it's an alien planet.
Of course.
We drove out to the desert. Look at this planet we found.
Pretty much.
Let me read these comments real quick from Adam March before we move on. He says, one thing to consider is that the technological advances didn't inherently shape the political structures. Empires and monarchies continue for 1,500 years after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. That's a major factor in what shapes the world. One can, of course, see these empires and monarchical structures into today, but the dominance isn't what it was.
No, I think it's more that the politics influences the technology.
That was the point I was making.
I see what you're saying there, but like I think it's the other way around, honestly, and that's what I thought Cap was getting at that point was like. You know, okay.
I don't know if he's arguing with something I said that I don't remember what I said, but I was making the opposite
point. Think about
point.
this. Technology can help with enlightenment, and an enlightened civilization might have a different form of government. So I can see it that way, too. But I think it's overwhelmingly likely...
Well, and you know what? He was probably responding to when I said, and I was speculating because I don't know, when I said, like, if Rome develops technology a lot faster, and because they didn't fall as early...
And they conquer everybody?
Yeah. When they have all this great technology, do they continue like slavery forward forever and all of that? And I think he was suggesting that yes, they would, because historically, technological advances don't really change people's politics. But I think if it happened really rapidly, like it could have an effect on it. Maybe, I guess I just don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like if the technology advances to enlightenment. Would that then change our political structure? Because I think our political structure has to change to be considered enlightened, but you have to get there socially before you advance the political structure.
Adam Marsh is talking about Star Trek. He says, they don't always have the same development, though. Think of a piece of the action. The advancement ends because they follow the gangster book. Only because something from Earth affected them. I'm just saying, like, if this happens, like way too much in Star Trek, and we always talk about it like it's the same... like phases. It's a cycle. There's that Voyager episode where you have where you have all the cycles of the advancement of a society that happens within like a blink of an eye, the blink of an eye. Do you remember
that's
this?
The title of the episode.
I can't remember if that's what it actually is or not. Is it?
Blink of an eye,
it's
yeah.
Like, that is an episode. I just can't remember if it's this one. But anyway, but it's that episode where
it exists in a temporal.
Well, it's just their planet. Time moves at a different rate than ours, and it's just kind of exactly follows the same structure as on Earth.
They even develop spaceships and go out to see the Voyager.
But you could even, but I guess you could say it's because all Class M planets have basically the same elements and stuff.
But it wasn't
I don't
Class M though, because it existed in a temporal thing. I think it was actually a different class of planet.
Oh, but like you can still breathe on it and have water and stuff. So I don't know.
Only the Doctor
you
went
had
down.
that,
They came up.
No, but the only reason, yeah, but it was still I think it was still a Class M planet. It was just behind some kind of like weird thing that changed how time
Yeah.
worked.
Anyway, I do remember the episode.
It wouldn't have not been a Class M planet, I don't think, but I don't want to get into all that.
I even had that with because I've been watching through TNG, as Cap knows. There's the
Yeah,
episode I can't remember what it's called. It's the one where Riker gets stuck on the planet that's about to make their warp drive.
Yeah, First Contact.
Oh, First Contact.
Not to be confused with First
BB
Contact.
Norway- BB North.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a part early on in that episode where like the aliens in that world are like all talking to each other, and they're like, "Oh, we're building a warp drive," and I was like, "Oh, weird. That's weird. They came up with the same name."
Well,
Okay.
that's the universal translator conceit.
That's just Universal Translator.
But nobody out like it's just them. Like it's not like they're talking to anybody that's like involved with Starfleet or anything.
Yeah, that doesn't matter though, because when they're talking, because later on they'll talk to Riker, and Riker would hear them say it that way. So for the sake of consistency in the lingo,
Okay.
you can easily extrapolate that to who knows what they call it. We're hearing English when they're speaking their language.
Because every other word we're hearing is English, and they're obviously speaking their language.
Mhm.
That's just
Yeah, I
that's
just
just
thought
how
it was
Star Trek
interesting
works.
they didn't like come up with another name. It's just like oh look, it's like slightly different or something.
Yeah, that's just how Star Trek works.
Yeah.
Well,
Those
being
hat-
the equivalent of Starfleet's
hat
warp
thing.
drive, their name for it would just translate to warp drive.
I mean, the Vulcans also call it warp drive. Like,
Yeah.
That has BB Neworth in it. She wants to fuck the alien. To
Yep.
her,
Yeah, that's the best part of that episode.
so weird. And I was telling Austin this, but it's, to my recollection, really the only alien planet with glasses.
Okay, I just thought of something. How funny
Yeah.
is it that an alien
How quickly
wants
would
to fuck...
Rome have developed glasses?
How funny is it that that an alien wants to fuck Riker because Riker always wants to fuck the aliens?
Well, then like 2 episodes later,
I
I
think that's
got
the
that
joke.
episode where Data has a girlfriend.
Oh
and
yeah.
Riker really wants Data to fuck his girlfriend, and his reaction to it's really weird.
Yeah, that's not a great episode. In theory, the Orville takes In Theory and makes it like a series-long subplot, and it's way better.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they fixed In Theory. But
I
anyway,
didn't mind that episode.
Oh, wait,
but-
yeah. No, with Isaac.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But Riker's just like, oh, Data, like there's a thing that when you're with somebody, they'll do for you, and it's so good. And Data's like what? And he's like, I can't wait for you to find out.
Yeah, but isn't
Yeah.
that kind of
It's
weird
really weird
considering the
face.
episode The
You
Naked
know, like,
Now?
That's what I was
Data's
thinking.
fully
of. I was like-
functional.
yeah, I was like, Data's already
He's programmed
banged,
in over so many techniques.
and
Yeah.
he's got a because that was also a blonde woman.
It's easy to read that sexual coming from Riker. I think it's supposed to be kind of like, just innuendo where he's supposed to be talking about, like something a little bit more ethereal than that,
He was definitely talking about
like the
sex.
connection you make with a woman, but they know what people are gonna. Yeah, there's a lot of that with Riker.
That's true.
Have you gotten to The Perfect Mate yet?
I thought
I
about
don't
that
with-
episode just
think
the other
so.
day.
With
I
Femke
still have to watch
Jensen?
the finale of season 4. I got to get back to it.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I don't want to start it. I'm always in a point where I'm like, I don't have enough time to watch both parts, and I don't really want to watch it like with time between. Like, I just want to watch it.
I'm pretty
together.
sure it's that episode. There's this great bit in
Perfect Mate.
Perfect Mate where so Austin, Perfect Mate is Femke Jensen playing a what's called an empathic metamorph, where she like mentally imprints whatever a man like wants and is interested in into herself when she meets one. So like she's immediately like his perfect like lover. And Riker is, of course, trying to be a perfect gentleman, and when he meets her, he's like pushing off every advance, and they have an encounter in the hallway, and after he's again like kind of shunned her advances in walking off, there's this great bit where he tapped. Do you remember this? Riker taps his comm badge and he says, "If anybody needs me, I'll be in holodeck 4."
Oh, I've seen that clip. Yeah.
And he walks out. It's so good. It's one of my favorite Riker moments. That's TNG coming right out and going, Riker's got to go masturbate right now.
Oh my god,
it's
I never noticed that.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
because I watched the Mike versus Rich Star Trek trivia, and that's one of the clips that comes up in that episode was the I'll be in the holodeck.
Yeah,
That's
it's really good.
That's good.
Okay, Brandon.
Yes, Cap.
Oh, sorry, you just did your topic.
I did.
Austin, you have a topic yet?
I can, but if you have something specific you want to do, because you were like,
I just need a quick break. So I'm gonna run upstairs for a second. Can you guys hold the fort for a second?
Yeah.
You guys feel free to do like a mini topic or talk about whatever.
I was gonna say we could talk about more Star Trek.
Yeah, whatever you guys want to talk
Because
about.
I had something else I was gonna say, but I can't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna build like a mini fort. So next time you say hold the fort, I will get this out and hold it.
Like I'm literally holding your fort right now.
Yes. Do you have any forts in Canada? Is there a Fort Canada?
Probably. I don't know about that specific name, but I mean, there's like tons of that kind of old, like architecture stuff, and I think it's called Fort Quebec. The one that I went to Quebec, that was really cool. They had like a big museum, because it was like that was like the battle where the English beat the French here and trapped them.
Oh, okay. Well, French Canadians had to come from somewhere.
Exactly. Well, that's why they're so bitter, is because we beat them and then they couldn't go back.
So, when was the last time Canada was in a war? Did they fight with the British in World War II?
Oh yeah. Well, we were still not an independent country, so when the British went to war, we got dragged in.
Wait, when did you guys gain independence? Trivia time.
Technically, 1982.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, no, technically we don't
That's
gain
only
full
4 years before I was born.
Yeah, no, technically we don't gain full independence until 82.
That's 9 years before the Berlin Wall falls, right? 1991?
Yeah.
Jesus
I know,
Christ.
isn't that insane?
Okay, this brings up another thing
it was Trudeau's father, was Pierre Trudeau.
Listen. So this brings up another thing. Speaking of like civilizations and stuff, like the time at which things happened in parallel, right? In 1492, the Renaissance was happening. We had only just discovered Native Americans, over here in the States. But the Renaissance was going on, right? Or, colonialism versus the Industrial Revolution. These things, when they happened, it's fascinating thinking about that type of stuff as well. History is really interesting. I was never good at it, but it's really interesting.
I'm rusty on a lot of history stuff, but like I love history. Like sitting back and reading about some of that stuff, or watching documentaries on it.
Quick caps back. Got to drop a fuck in there.
Oh yeah, fuck.
Yeah, no, it is really fascinating, and I love local historical things. I love going around and telling people about places.
Can you get for a second? This rug is.
I could show you where the oldest building in Shawnee is. It used to be a stop on the Pony Express.
Well, and that as a kid is why I preferred Indiana Jones over Star Wars, was because it like really encouraged me to read about like older civilizations and stuff like that. Where it was like I'm learning more from it. Where it's like, oh, what other cool things are there out there, and
are you constantly trying to guess it, like how they would have technologically advanced if they advanced earlier?
Well, crystal skulls are magical,
So I came back and fully expected you guys to still be talking about Star Trek, because Austin was like, "Oh, well, we could talk more about Star Trek." And then I come back and it's not that.
We're talking about history, which is also cool by me. I love history.
Did you answer Adam March's question, Austin? He asked if you have a favorite episode yet, or is it like so far? What is your favorite episode of TNG?
That's really hard. I don't know what my favorite episode is so far. I don't want to be boring and say, like Who Watches the Watchers or something like that. But
You know, for a lot of people, that's a top 10 episode. I mean, Who Watches the Watchers is great.
it is really good, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like I'm watching it like all, in succession, and like I find it just all very consistent. Like, there's obviously episodes where I'm like, okay, this is a Troy episode. But
the one we were talking about earlier.
Hey, and you, I mean, you got
you
your
didn't
throwaway
remember.
episodes. Although there's some that you seem to be latching onto that I never care about.
yeah,
So
that's
that's
true,
cool.
because I'll be like, oh, this is a cool episode, and Cap will be like, no, episode fucking sucks. What are you talking about?
Like, I never go back to that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that episode. Well,
Why
like,
are we
what was
talking
the,
about fucking, like, the high ground?
like, this is the one with the kid from RoboCop 2 that was about loss, and I was like, oh, the ending of that episode's really impactful. And Cap was just like, that episode sucks.
That's not what I said, but it's fine.
That
The best
episode
part-
always makes me laugh though, because he's trying to imitate.
No, that's a different episode.
That's a different one.
I think.
I thought he was the one that was. I thought that was the kid from RoboCop, the one who imitates Data, because he doesn't want to.
No.
It's
No.
Worf gets
Different
his
episode.
mom killed on an away mission, and then there's like an alien that takes the place of his mom that's trying to get him to come down.
Yeah,
to
you're
the-
talking about hero worship. That's a different episode.
Oh, okay.
There's also I was like, oh hey Cap, have you
Hero
seen this
worship is great,
episode
but
where Picard is on vacation at the
Risa.
youth spa? Yeah, and Cap was like, that episode sucks and everybody hates it. You're wrong.
We had that's Risa. We used to have a joke in Star Trek Club. You could get a Risa burger with fries.
oh yeah, the rice and burger with fries.
Yeah, I was like, this episode's fun, and Cap's like, well, you're the only one.
Vash.
Yeah, people don't love Captain's Holiday, and I'm not always with the grain with Star Trek fans, but like, Captain's Holiday is not great.
I don't know.
You
It
just
was
seem-
tapping into my Indiana Jones love. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I
can
think
see,
you
I
have
can
me
see why
mistaken for someone else.
I can see why you latched onto it, but that was still them kind of like dicking around trying to find Picard.
That's also not one of my favorite episodes, but I was like, oh, this is pretty fun.
The Ferengi in
And
that
it's
episode.
got a hokey time travel plot for no reason.
The toxic
Oh, that's
Tot.
right. Yeah, with those aliens.
Yeah, you get the 25th or 26th century aliens or whatever at the end, and you're like, really? And we had to
You
throw
have
that in
destroyed
there?
it, just
Okay.
as our history foretold.
It's stupid.
He did exactly what he was.
And there's better Picard archaeology things in other episodes too, but
I'll get to them.
you will.
But that one was fun.
Yeah, I never liked Vash, or at least I never liked Vash with Picard. That's the thing too, is I feel like that's a missed opportunity character. There's about 5 other people I'd pair her up with before Picard.
Yeah, but then she gets to become a Q. What's that all about?
Well,
Yeah.
she doesn't become a Q, but
That
she,
was
like,
another episode where I was like, oh, that's pretty fun. And Cap was like, that episode fucking sucks.
Yeah,
I mean, she
don't
stands
like,
on the outside of the
I
starship.
don't like Cupid at all. That's dumb.
But it's so quotable. There's so many good lines in it.
Yeah, it's also one of those things that's been quoted to death so hard that like it doesn't.
You just
do
don't like it because it's fantasy.
anything for me anymore. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, fair enough. You just don't like it because it's fantasy. You're bigoted against fantasy.
how's it fantasy?
Because they go back to Robin Hood.
Robin Hood's not fantasy. What are you
That
talking
counts.
about?
It's sword and sword. Okay, it's sword land.
There's no
I don't
sorcery.
know.
Robin Hood is
Okay, I started to say
set
sorcery
in
and
a
I cut myself
specific
off.
place and
Sorry.
time. It has no magic in it. It's not genre at all.
No, but it's you don't like swords.
Robin Hood is. You don't like swords. No, it's not the
I don't know how
setting.
to describe it without just saying fantasy. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
My favorite
Yeah.
scene.
You're saying it's just the time period that I don't like. I think
Yeah,
you could have made
it's
that.
It's all those tropes.
You could have made that like taking place in anywhere or anytime. I just don't like the setup. I don't know.
My favorite
Yeah, I mean
scene
the setup's like whatever. But
in that episode is Geordie LaForge is playing a mandolin and Worf comes up and just smashes it against the tree.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, it was like-
destroys it.
And Mark Robin Hood is definitely not fantasy, Austin.
I don't know. I just count all that stuff as fantasy. It all takes place in trees
No,
and
Robin Hood
swords
is like
and
merely a
bows.
proto superhero story in its way.
Oh yeah, no, it's. I feel like it's in that kind of Zorro place. There's an argument to be made that we have to cover Robin Hood on Rewind.
Wow. I hope not very many people make that argument because most of them are really shitty. So let's
But
not do
then you get
that.
to do like the Disney Robin Hood, and that movie's great.
That's my wife's favorite Disney movie.
I love
It's
that Robin
mine,
Hood.
yeah.
It's
It's at least
fine.
in my top 5.
The
You just
the,
don't like it because you're bigoted against foxes.
I don't like it because I don't like fantasy, apparently.
the rooster's little tune that he whistles and plays. I
Yeah.
love that. Think
Oh,
about
it's
that all the
great,
time.
Yeah.
But then we would have to do a rewind commentary on Men in Tights, and I'm all for that. That'd be really
Oh
funny.
man,
yeah, I
that'd be
love
great.
that.
That's a great movie.
I love that movie so much.
It's so much better than that shitty Kevin Costner movie.
It sure, and what a weird thing to do a full-on parody of, right? Like, take a movie that you expect to do big guns at the box office, completely bombs. Now there's a parody that comes out of a movie fucking nobody saw.
Unlike some Robin Hoods, I have a British accent.
Yeah, and it feels like that movie was entirely made just to have that one dig in there. Like, fuck you.
And that's
I have a
got
British
Patrick Stewart at
accent.
the end too.
Yeah, well,
It's true.
that's because of the Sean Connery cameo.
Sean
at the end of
Connery
that
bit,
movie.
yeah.
So they duplicated it and had Patrick Stewart come in, and that's pretty funny. Adam March, the Errol Flynn Robin Hood is amazing. Yeah, that would be like the only reason to do that. But well, the Disney one's good too. But
Yeah. And Men in Tights. So really, there's no downsides to this.
no, besides the other 5 Robin Hoods you'd have to watch.
There's one of my favorite gags in that Robin Hood is the Patriot arrow, like the Patriot missiles. They find their target.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that movie
I
since I was a
remember
kid, so I
that.
probably never caught
Oh yeah,
that.
at the competition where they knock his bow so that he can't shoot it properly. He used it says on the side Patriot arrow. So that's why it goes through the crowd and goes under there and they do the wave because
That's
it's going underneath them and it finds its target because it's a
hilarious.
Patriot
That-
missile but an arrow.
That's great. Because I know that's the part you're talking about, and as a kid, it was like, oh, it's just funny because like the arrows flying all around, and
Right.
that's not what arrows do.
That's why.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're already at 50 minutes. We can go a little longer than an hour if you guys want to, but like, should we do 2 more topics? Maybe
It's
we
your
can
show.
Kind of quick ones.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
God.
what about
Don't say
what
that.
about Sonic High School?
Well, no, like I said, we're just doing topics tonight. Austin, did you
Yes.
finally think of a topic?
I do have one. It's just kind of like a small geeky thing, so I don't know how
Hit
much
us.
we have to talk about it, but
Hit us.
so I was just thinking about stuff like my favorite game of last year was the new RoboCop game. The thing I'm looking forward to most is the new Indiana Jones game, and I was just wondering if the place for a lot of these older IPs is maybe in gaming over film. With stuff like that, especially with Disney talking about not making any more Indiana Jones. I don't believe them, but we'll see. And RoboCop, they've been like in development hell for years trying to make a new movie. And yeah, I just thought about that.
Yeah, well, and I think
And
that's
obviously, we can
where-
talk about things other than those two, but
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm hearing stuff upstairs that I'm gonna have to go check on. So why don't? So
good.
apologies, but like I said, I got a lot going on in my house.
We
right now.
understand.
Why don't you guys get started with this topic and I'll try to catch up.
Okay.
But apologies, I gotta go check on that real quick.
yeah, no worries.
So, I'm not big into gaming. I can see how games set themselves up for being able to do, like, Final Fantasy's on what, number 9? It's
No, way more than
way
that.
more
It's
than
on
that, right?
16.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and like some of these older properties can reinvent themselves in ways that movies can't, especially because characters age or actors age and characters don't, or they can if you want them to, and you have the ability to create everything. So, I like from that aspect, I can even see films making a jump from film to franchise to gaming franchise, but like 007 does both,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
there's that too, but it's a property that can continue to reinvent itself. If you have a property that can't reinvent itself, or needs a hard reboot, or even a soft reboot with different actors and whatnot, I think it's a lot harder to pull that on the public than it is to do that in the gaming property.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I was going to say, Austin, is, in going along with that, Brandon, video games are such a nice sweet spot where you can have your cake and eat it too on this, because you can simultaneously make an old thing feel fresh again and completely repeat yourself and get away with it.
Big thing I was going to mention too. Yeah.
That is the one place where nobody is going to complain that you've been there and done that before if you're real authentic about it.
Especially in the graphics department.
Well, but with everything, right? So when you get, and I haven't played it yet, I want to. I couldn't buy a whole system for it. I'm waiting a little while. But with RoboCop, you don't go into that going, I want a brand new, fresh, and I don't know what the story is in that game, but story and world and stuff for that character. You want to play that movie. You want to play RoboCop, and a lot of the reason you want to do that, and even if the story is different, and you're not playing exactly that movie and what happens.
You gotta hit the right beats, because you want to get RoboCop as a game, and you want to fight Ed 209.
You want to fight Ed 209. Well, the place where all this started really was Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and I was going to mention Ghostbusters as well.
I'm sorry, I'm stealing his thunder.
The old arcade, but the old arcade version of RoboCop was freaking great, because you'd get out the gun and you'd see him on screen. He'd take out his gun from his bottom and just shoot somebody, and that was always fun.
Are you talking about RoboCop or Terminator? RoboCop had an arcade game.
Yeah, I've seen one. It was where was it?
But was it a
It was a
was it a
big,
rail shooter?
Huh?
Was it a rail shooter?
What do you mean?
I mean, an on-rail
is
shooter.
Is this the RoboCop versus Terminator game, or was there just a straight RoboCop arcade?
I don't know about that. If there was,
it was one. Maybe I am conflating the two, but
I think you're conflating it with something else. I don't think that was a thing.
I'll look into that.
But anyway, so with Ghostbusters, it was and honestly, on the story front, I didn't love this, but I understood why it was there, and the novelty was worth it because the gameplay was fun, right? So it's all about finding the sweet spot between gameplay and storytelling, because a story-driven game has to kind of do both. But if the gameplay is great, players will forgive a lot on the story front, right? So we had to come up with excuses to do all the, like Austin said, hit all the beats, do all the big story stuff that you remember from the first Ghostbusters, while still making it feel as much like a Ghostbusters 3 as possible. And you kind of want to get to do all of that. So it's like, and the other thing is, when I was a kid, IP-based games were terrible. And these were all things we always wanted to see going all the way up. In Austin, you can do it with anything and everything. Where's that great AAA Watchmen game? Where's that great AAA insert fucking anything in, right?
No, absolutely. Even outside of this exact thing, the only time I've ever liked Spider-Verse as a concept was in Shattered Dimensions, because you can put up with a level of that kind of fan servicey thing that you don't in other mediums, I think.
Yeah.
Because it just matters, if it's a fun game.
And if it's trying to be real character driven and stuff, you want it to stick the landing with that.
Yeah, sure.
The problem with, and I know this is the obvious place that we always go with this, but the problem with something like Arkham Knight was, we're in the middle of a trilogy where the first two had pretty decent stories. And so you're holding it to its own standards, so it's gotta stick the landing on the story front also. But if Arkham Knight is the first Arkham game, the story's kind of whatever.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing I have with the new Suicide Squad game, which is everything about the story looks bad, but it's also in the Arkham series, so I have that to compare it to, so it's that sucks. But there's stuff like Injustice where
when you care more.
The story's whatever. I'm not there for the story. I'm there for just to play the game.
Yeah, and then that's kind of an interesting example with story stuff, where then you take that into a different medium and you tell better stories than the game did.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a whole franchise that erupts initially from that. But yeah, no, I think gaming is absolutely the place to take a lot of IPs that are kind of dead in the water for movies, or that we've tried too many times and we keep doing the same thing with. Nobody's got new ideas for, or more likely, studios won't let people do the smart risks that they need to tell a cool story with that franchise. I'm very excited about the new Jurassic Park game. I could not care less about any more movies ever in that franchise ever.
No, absolutely. And this is hypothetical, but they drop enough hints in it that I'm sure this is what they're doing next. But the people who made RoboCop, I think, are going to make a They Live game. I don't ever want to see another They Live movie. Like, don't touch that. I would play that game in a heartbeat. That sounds awesome. Yeah,
because it's all about being interactive. Like, Austin, how do you? So when you take this is a great topic, by the way. When you take a movie,
I pulled it out of my ass.
Yeah, well,
your ass speaks volumes.
That was way better than what I was about to say, and somehow less like weird and creepy than where my brain went. So Austin. Which is why I didn't say it, like it comes to you and you're like, I shouldn't say that.
But now I want to know.
I was just gonna,
you can say the same
I was just gonna thank your ass, really, but
pain in mine, really, but no. You could say the same thing about Star Trek TNG. I don't need new Star Trek TNG movies, but you can continue to make new compelling Star Trek TNG stories and video games.
Well, and that's great. So.
For a long time,
and more than that, when Frakes, who directed First Contact, we've been talking about Frakes a lot today. When Jonathan Frakes, who directed
Frosted Flakes for breakfast,
First Contact, which is a movie that I enjoy, but has a lot of story problems.
Yeah.
When Frakes, in his commentary, said, I think fans want Star Trek to be an action movie. That was a just fucking stupid thing to say, right? He clearly does not understand the main audience for that. But do fans want good action in a Star Trek based game? Sure. Like you can do the action movie thing in a video game, and that's why like Elite Force was awesome. It took the Quake engine and it put it in Voyager, and you go around and you shoot Borg. Like, that's really great. I don't want that for a show, but I'll take it for a video game.
Yeah, well, even more so now you have stuff like the Guardians game, or again, RoboCop, to go back to that. Like, there's a lot more like dialogue systems in like these kind of action games now, where you can spend like an hour or two not doing any like shooting or whatever, and you can mix that in. Obviously, you probably also want to have that action in a Star Trek game, but like you can balance it a lot more than you could even like 10 years ago.
Yeah, you make it an action RPG, right? You make it a thing where it's easy to focus on, especially if it's open world. You focus on the thing that as a player you're more interested in. So if you want to go explore, you can do a lot of that, and you maybe don't have to pull your phaser out as often.
Did you hear about the guy, and I don't know if he ever completed it, there was a guy in a server on Minecraft who was building a full-size Enterprise D. That'd be fascinating.
That's not surprising.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's probably like a few people that have done that.
But Austin, I was going to ask you this question. When you're talking about games or like games based on big movies, what is your priority? Like, do you want to see something like what I was talking about earlier? And again, I haven't gotten to play RoboCop, so I can't speak to that. I'm assuming that that's not just the movie story, but like, do you, for something like They Live or something, do you want to play linearly front to back the movie? So do you want it to be like an interactive version of the film, or do you want it to be authentically it's the feel of that movie, and it's sort of like it feels like it's in continuity with that, but it's a step in a different direction as far as the context of the story goes?
It depends what it is. So like RoboCop does the Ghostbusters thing where like it is like hard, like this is the third movie.
Oh really?
Yeah, like it is just wipe away 3. This is the new third movie.
How Frank Miller-ish is it then?
There's quite a bit of that, yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's not like satirical like those movies are, because it's like a video game where you're just with RoboCop. But no, like a lot of the thugs have that kind of like Frank Millery thug look, stuff like that.
Okay.
No, absolutely. But for something like They Live, like I don't like. I think I would want it to be in that line where it's like a different thing, but you're kind of living through some of those beats. But for something like the new Indiana Jones game, I want it to be completely separate. I want it to be its own unique story. So I guess it just depends on the IP.
But I guess what I mean is, how would you feel? And I guess we haven't really done this a lot, but how would you feel about just taking
just making like a game adaptation now, kind of like what they did with Die Hard did that like 10 years later.
I'm sorry, with what?
I think Die Hard did that on like the PS2 era. They did like the Die Hard trilogy, and I think Alien did that as well.
Yeah. That seems
but
like a way to go, maybe, because when those things initially came out, what fans really wanted was the game to follow the movie, right? And then a lot of them were cash grabs and were barely playable, and they either didn't follow the movie at all, or they sort of did, but the gameplay was broken. So there's a part of me that kind of wants to go back and fix all of that and do all of those finally. I would have been.
I got a good.
I would have been okay if the first Ghostbusters movie was just Ghostbusters, but then the question, or the first Ghostbusters game, but then the question is, how do you pad it out to make it as lengthy as people want in games now? Because when in the 90s, you do a 16-bit game based on a movie, and it can be 5-6 levels and follow the film, and you kind of have to truncate it even. You don't even get a level for every major scene because there's just not enough space in a cartridge, right? Now it's the opposite problem, where it's like, how do you get 20 hours out of Jurassic Park? I don't know that you can.
I've got the perfect answer for this now, and the answer is in one of these IP games. The answer is Alien Isolation, which is its own 20-hour game, and the DLC packs they released are just the 2 moments that it would make sense to make a level out of the original movie.
Oh,
so it's
cool.
like so it's like you get your own thing, but like for those of you that want to play the movie and don't want it to be padded out either, here are just the moments you want to play from the movie.
Huh.
So I would say that's probably the answer.
Yeah, so you do both.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, but in doing both, what do you do to get 20 hours out of the property? Like with...
Well, exactly what he just said. So you have a game that tells its own story, but then you have extra levels that let you...
Gotcha.
Apparently you missed everything he just said.
No, I didn't understand what he was meaning by that.
I just repeated what he said.
Not exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's a DLP?
DLC, downloadable content.
Oh.
The extra things that you do. You don't know what DLC is, okay.
I'm not
with
a gamer.
With that Alien one specifically too, it wasn't just like here's like 2 levels based on the movie. It was also like you can also do alternate versions where it's like you can play the level as somebody else. Like you don't have to be Sigourney Weaver to play the end of Alien, which is kind of interesting as well. Yeah. And they brought back the 3 actors, including Weaver, for it, so that was really cool.
That's the thing is, again, you're not just telling a story; it's an interactive thing. So people aren't gonna mind like fan service and monkeying with stuff and making.
But it's like the one medium that you can get away with a lot of that.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
No, it's awesome. Okay, before we move on from this topic, let's go around and throw out one property that you want the AAA game treatment for. Just think about it a second. Austin probably already has it.
Can only be one. No, that's actually a lot harder because it's like, okay, there's like 8 billion. What do I condense into one?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is there's so much legs for this. Like, stop greenlighting random ass tangential Disney Plus shows that nobody gives a fuck about and just make video games.
Absolutely. I'm gonna throw out one. This isn't like my top one. This is just I can't see it happening.
I'm sorry, Tom Atkins. I didn't mean to bully Brandon. I'm genuinely shocked that he's never heard of DLC before.
I know what
Brandon's
downloadable content is as a form, but I hadn't heard it referred to that. Or
you
DLC.
just didn't know what the acronym was? Okay.
Yeah.
But are you aware that this is how we pad out games now and force people to spend too much money?
I was not aware, actually,
to buy a thing that's not fully completed, and then you get the rest of it with DLC. because that's a thing that's
so
been a problem
fucking
for
stupid.
years. But anyway, I
Yeah.
don't want to get into all of that again. But Austin, what is your main like one property you want to throw out?
I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna throw it two.
Nope, you can't do that.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
My one that will never happen, but I think it would be cool is Highlander. I think that'd make for a cool game. But the one I really want the most is The Thing, and I would be cool with The Thing either being just a single player story game or an online thing. You could do either with it.
Yeah, I think that could happen. I
feel like
that one's not
probably
implausible.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to throw out one that I think is implausible. But I think The Thing will
Okay,
probably...
I'll do two like that too. But Brandon, does anything come to
I'm trying to
mind for
come
you
up
right
with
away?
anything for this. Nothing's coming to mind immediately.
Okay, I'll throw out a couple then.
Does it have to never have had a video game before?
No, it just needs no, not at all. But something that hasn't gotten like a great like AAA 20+ hour adventure.
Yeah, or even if
kind
it
of
hasn't
thing.
been a long time.
Okay.
Like
Sure.
Yeah, where you want to see it come back, we can do it better.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
One property comes to mind, but because I don't know of
It'd be
any
weird
games.
to say. It'd be weird to say Ghostbusters because it got that treatment. You know,
But Ghostbusters, that game came out like what, 13 years ago now?
yes, it'd be nice to get a sequel to it, but it did get.
Yeah,
that
it's like I feel
treatment.
like that is one that you could go to.
That's fair. At least it got that remaster. It's pretty good.
That's true. Yeah, I need to finally get through that game because it looks awesome.
It looks great on Switch.
Yeah, I need to pick it up. It looks so good.
Real Warzog says Evil Dead. That happened.
Yeah, and well, it also just ended. So I would love a good like a single player Evil Dead.
Oh, was
I'd
that not
like
single
game.
player? I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I
No,
knew it was
that's all
multiplayer,
online.
but it doesn't have a campaign.
No, because we hit like this big thing where it was like, okay, all of these 80s properties are going to get online only multiplayer games. You have it with Friday the 13th,
Friday the 13th, yeah.
Predator. This isn't 80s, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre just came out. Ghostbusters had one.
That everybody hated.
Yeah, I didn't even hear anybody talk about it.
I heard nothing but not great things.
I feel like there's another one that I'm blanking on, but there's a bunch of them.
Because you could be a ghost, but
yeah. Well, my big thing with it was I was like, I'm so sick of like just this being the formula, but I also played like almost all of them and had a lot of fun with them. So like I'm a giant hypocrite, but
yeah. So Brandon, what comes to mind?
Well, I don't know if they ever gotten a game treatment, but something like a, mystery style like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
I'd play, as I can imagine you playing as Sherlock or even as Watson, helping Sherlock Holmes solve the case. It just sounds like it'd be fascinating. Like,
well,
you
and
could
there's
do
a lot of
bunch
different
things.
versions, of course, you can do with that. And yeah, there have been Sherlock Holmes games and things like, that basically like might as well be that. You know what I mean? Like kind of just puzzle like solving things. But for like a action thing. There's no reason you couldn't go backwards and do the Robert Downey thing.
Well, and I'm even thinking of
Or something a lot like it.
I'm trying to think what the game's called, but it's a Lovecraft-based game, and it's like an open world where you're in this city that's like partly flooded, and like you have to go around and you're like solving like what's going on with the city. Wish I remember what it was called, but that was the first place my mind went to when you said Sherlock Holmes. Was that where you kind of like go around and you're like solving murders? Because there's a thing in that, kind of like what they do in Arkham Origins Cap, where it's like you scan things and you can like play the crime back and forth.
See,
and,
I
like,
was gonna say, don't do that with Sherlock Holmes. Like, I don't want Sherlock Holmes to get detective vision.
Yeah, well, you don't have to do like full detective vision, but like that is a way to do the.
Well,
kinda,
Sherlock
That's
Holmes
true,
does
where,
have
like,
a particular perception about him.
Yeah, just like a way to visualize.
Where he can visualize it in his mind's eye. Yeah, fair enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
The two I want to throw out real quick is the one that will never happen. I'd love a '60s Batman game. I don't even know what that looks like.
Huh.
Well, if you do it like comics, or you do like a 2D, like a more 2D animated thing, like the movie is, I could totally see what that would look like. But the other thing is, give
like
me
a Beautiful Joe thing.
Oh yeah, good call. Give me a big open world single-player campaign Stargate game.
Oh, okay.
For the love of God, it's right there. Yeah, because it's Gates going to worlds. It's a fucking video game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
No, I was just surprised. I didn't think you were gonna say Stargate. That's why. Yeah.
oh yeah, I would love that.
There's another one I had, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was. Some 80s property. When I thought of the second one, it
The
blew it out of my...
A-Team.
I mean,
That'd
the
be
A-Team would
fun.
be really
That'd
easy
be-
to make a
yeah.
game out of.
It would. No, I think you could do this with anything.
Yeah, and there's so much potential. The A-Team is actually a good answer because we're doing fuck all with the A-Team, and do we really need like another movie or a show? But like a game would be cool.
Yeah.
You could do it. Like that'd be fun. And you could do that as like a split screen and like multiplayer co-op like campaign too, where you just all play through it as like a shooter.
Yeah, that'd be a good shooter. It'd be a hilarious shooter because you have to make sure you don't kill anyone.
Well, you got to shoot the guns out of their hands,
Yeah, that'd be the A-Team. And like you
And then-
lose if you kill people.
and then you're like, oh no, there's a cat in that tree, and then you shout the tree until it falls over for the cat to come down.
You'd be like, at what point do we just stop carrying guns? Let's use anything else. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. People in the chat were asking what that game I was talking about, so I just looked it up. It's The Sinking City. That was the one that I was thinking
I've
of
never
for
heard of
the
that.
Sherlock Holmes one.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that either.
Yeah, it's all right.
That's
That's one of
cool.
those games that kind of came out and people were like, it's fine.
I also want a more story-driven Power Rangers adventure game that's not a beat-em-up or a fighting game. Because there's no reason that we can't finally give Power Rangers something closer to the Arkham treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
There's just so
Or, like
much
a
lore
better
there.
version of Gotham Knights, like where you can like bring in teammates and stuff.
Yeah, find some way to make it team-based. You're right, it shouldn't be single-player, but I also don't want it to be like the online multiplayer thing. It'd be nice if you could play with like, you know, a team of 5 or 6 that goes through a campaign together. So you
Yeah,
make it
exactly.
you make it linear, but you have parties.
Mhm.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and you can do like an open world in that, kind of like what Suicide Squad's doing, but like obviously more of the Arkham gameplay.
Yeah, because I don't fully understand what that game is because I haven't looked real deep into it at all.
Yeah, it's just like a shooter. Everybody's got guns, including Captain Boomerang.
I just okay. I just
Oh.
knew it had online multiplayer, and people keep comparing it to Avengers, so I assumed it was like that, where it was like arenas and stuff. But I don't really know how it works.
Oh no, that game's also full open world.
Is it?
Unlike
Okay.
Avengers. Yeah, like it's full open world Metropolis.
I just didn't know if it was with the multiplayer.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like you can't like fully. It's not like one person could be on this side of the map, one person could be on this. Like I think it's got that kind of like old school Lego game thing where it's like once you guys get too far away, it kind of pushes you back.
Oh, Lego's great. I'd love another Lego game.
Well, if-
I'm waiting
No,
for
like
a
the-
Lego
like the original
adventure.
Lego Island. The original Lego Island. I'd love another one of those.
you don't know about Lego Worlds though.
Then I'll have to play it sometime.
Well, apparently Lego's over. We're moving on to the pop games.
Dude, I'm getting that though. It looks hilarious.
My favorite thing about the pop game from that trailer you sent me is that like
Yeah.
80% of the IPs it shows in it are like horror things.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be a horror game basically. That was
Like that
great.
part in the trailer where it recreates the part in the thing where the guy has the defibrillator and he like puts it on the corpse and then it opens up and bites his arms off, but it's with a pop figure. It's one of the most insane things I've seen in a while.
I know, it's awesome.
It's completely unhinged.
Okay, so I had kind of a serious topic, and I don't know if I want to end on it because I don't want to.
Well, I mean, it could be a bookend. We started with a serious history question, and then whatever
That's
the fuck
true.
my topic was.
Mine
and
gets
then,
into like like kind of a like psychological philosophical place.
Okay.
We love getting esoteric on this show.
Okay, well that's what we're gonna do then. We don't have to spend more than 10 or 15 minutes on this, but I have a feeling it will be difficult to not go longer than that. But I'm gonna ask
I'm
you
shocked
guys.
we got as much time out of mine as we did.
Well, yours. See, both of you guys. I just wanted to keep talking about those all day. Like you guys both did such a good job, even though Austin came here with no plan. Nicely done.
Do I look like a guy with a plan?
The only thing I don't like about Austin's topic is if we had done it on the main channel, we probably would have gotten views with it. That's the only thing.
That is true. That would have been a good GNN. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Honestly, I might take part of that part of the show and just put it up as a video. Except I don't really do that anymore, so I don't know.
Release it in a series of shorts.
Like 25 shorts. Okay. Here is my topic. So, real broad, real basic question. Do you guys agree with the basic tenet that a lot of people like to throw out? And of course, there's different feelings about this on multiple sides.
About abortion?
Yeah, we're just
Which
gonna hit.
David is better?
We're just gonna hit all the hot button issues each show. Today it's gonna be abortion. Next time assisted suicide. Just every show. No. Here's my question.
Public executions.
I'm never gonna get even the basic topic out.
Please go.
Well,
Please
now
go.
I want, because I suggested you call your other show Captain Brandon Discover Blank. Now
Yeah,
I want
we're
your
all
next
out of
topic to
time. I'm sorry.
I want your next topic to be abortion, so it could be Captain Brandon Discover Abortion. But anyways, what's your topic, sir?
No. Canceled.
I don't know. I mean,
Geekvolution canceled.
that. Look, I just want to give Patreon exclusive content they'll actually click on, and folks would click on that just out of morbid curiosity.
Exclusive
Speaking of
or excruciating?
Speaking of morbidity, do you guys agree with the basic notion that the Joker one bad day idea, that every person is capable under the right situation of murder?
Yes.
That's my question. Is, do you believe that and I don't mean like with a specific upbringing and background. I mean every person right now.
They can be put into a situation that would cause them to murder.
Yes, and murder meaning not killing
Not
and
self-defense.
self-preservation.
Right.
Because that would be not murder. But like, is it? Do you believe that every person has enough of a dark side that if you put that person in the wrong kind of circumstance or just drove them crazy somehow, every person is capable of murder? Because I go kind of back and forth on it.
That's an interesting question. I mean, could you, like, if I started to annoy you and I never left and I kept annoying you, could you murder me? Apply that to anybody, not just you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like we would have to figure out, and I don't want to do this because we don't have time, but I feel like we would have to figure out all of the surrounding, not criteria, what's the word I'm looking for? All the variables. You have to figure out every single variable. How much sleep am I getting? How much food am I getting? Like, who else is around?
But I considered the
pay
sleep
you
thing.
to murder. How much are they willing to buy your murder?
When you said this, I considered the sleep deprivation thing. But
Yeah.
if you murdered due to sleep deprivation, how much of that was self-preservation? You're just trying to get sleep because you desperately need it, or you would ultimately
let's
die.
not get into the weeds with that. When I say self-preservation, I simply mean in self-defense.
Okay.
So that's not a self-defense situation.
Okay, well then, yeah. I mean, potentially with sleep deprivation, yeah, you're gonna murder somebody potentially.
Yeah,
I'm operating on 5 days no sleep. Cap, I brought my hatchet with me.
Yeah, I mean, Austin, like, at that point, is it kind of a silly, like, pointless question? Do we have to put in the caveat that, like, quote unquote in your right mind, or you're not, like, I don't even think you could say that, because what exactly does that mean? Or like you're not under any kind of influence, like you wouldn't pass a like in court you wouldn't pass the temporary insanity plea
Mhm.
So they mentioned temporary insanity on the radio earlier, and this brings up another point that I was just thinking
Sorry,
about.
I was kind of asking Austin like
Oh,
what he thinks
sorry.
our criteria ought to be.
Um, well, I mean, your premise was just, can everybody get to that place?
Yeah.
And everybody's different, so maybe that place is some sort of intoxication. I don't know, but I think at the end of the day, anybody could be pushed to that.
Well, what if we viewed it from a slightly different angle?
Sorry, let me just continue with Austin for a second, and then I'll jump back to you, Brandon. But so Austin, does that mean that you buy into the idea that at the end of the day, human beings basically are just like slightly evolved animals? That there's not anything like real special about us ultimately? That we don't. Enlightenment is like a nice idea, but like how much of that is really in us, like.
I mean, I think those are kind of different questions.
Or
like,
civilization, or
do I
like
think,
being civilized.
do I think we still have like all those animal instincts? Absolutely. Are we, not much further above animals? I don't know. I think probably ultimately we are, but I do think those kind of instincts are still there, and I think everybody has that breaking point.
Okay, sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So those instincts are definitely still there. You make a good point. If we were enlightened, there's still going to be people that murder. So, like, I don't think we'd ever get to a zero murder state.
Well, that's not what we're talking about.
I understand that. But more to what you were talking about was, I think if you ask if anybody can get there, or if everybody can get there, what if I looked at it in a different light, whereas the people you would never think could be capable of this sometimes are. And I'll give you an example. Just this last year, my sister's husband's mother, so my sister's mother-in-law, she'd always told this family across the way, the kids would always say hi and be really nice, and their dad was a youth pastor at a local church. And she always said, if you ever need anything, just come over here and let us know. And then one night they're banging on the door because the dad went insane, tried to stab them all and burn them in the house alive. If they're capable of it, is anybody capable of it? I mean,
but also,
it makes
what do
it
you really
stronger.
know about that? You're talking about somebody you don't really know very well, so there could be all kinds of things in that guy's background you don't know about.
Exactly.
But like, so the real Warzog in the comments says, "What do you have to do to Mr. Rogers to make him murder?" That's the obvious kind of litmus test, right? Like take the most altruistic, like relatively like good or close to perfect person you can think of, and what would it take? Austin, I have a hard time imagining the whole one bad day thing works on somebody like Mr. Rogers. I feel like that's a person you'd have to like torture for several days or something.
But there again, before you
could get that person to that place.
But that's the question. Could you do that and get them to that place?
Like, yeah, could you get him to where he's not himself anymore? Maybe. But that's what it would take. I guess I'm kind of more interested in the one bad day question than I am the most extreme like you know what I mean, like not the Clockwork Orange thing, but just like, a person snaps that fought their life with, like, what if, okay, let me do it this way. What if somebody murdered Mr. Rogers' wife, and then when he gets back home from set that day, he not only finds out about it, but that person is still in his house, and the gun is sitting there, right? Like, could Mr. Rogers have one bad day?
I just want a movie.
I don't think so. I actually don't think so.
His wife gets killed and his daughter gets kidnapped, and he's like, "Hello there, neighbor. I will find you." But because you're going to the temporary insanity place, my mind immediately went to I can't remember what the study's called, but it's that study with like the prisoner guard thing, where it's like you give anybody an amount of power and they immediately abuse it. So like my mind went straight to that, where like if you were to put somebody in a room and be like, "Here's this gun, shoot this person," I think you can get a lot of people just to do it based off of stuff like that. Or being like, "Hey, I will give you this amount of money if you kill somebody." Obviously,
well, certainly there are a lot of people that would go for that, but not everybody.
Yeah,
they'd have different limits.
I think everybody has some sort of breaking point. So just because you don't go for that doesn't mean you won't also fall for something else, like temporary insanity, like something crazy happens to you. Like, I think everybody has something that will bring them to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I don't even know how I would argue that. I've always just been in a I'm not sure kind of place. It's such a case by case thing. You almost have to
There's so
do.
many variables.
There's so many variables. Yeah.
There's so many things that could happen, or situations you could be in. Like,
What makes this whole thing so complicated is because I was positing earlier, like how far are we really removed from the animals, right? Like, so much of brain chemistry is just that. It's just chemicals, right? And so you just start fucking with the chemicals, and a person can very easily be made to not be themselves through no fault of their own, like including the most altruistic person you can think of. And so, like, at the point that you start just changing like the basic chemical composition of a person's brain, like it's just like Alzheimer's. You don't have any control over it.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody has a point where they can be broken.
I think that it's sad to say, I think that's probably true. And there's extreme cases where it's hard to imagine where that is. Like just how far you'd have to push a person, and that's interesting.
Well, it's the thing you say 5 minutes from
there.
now. That's what does it. Just kidding.
I'm sorry, I have no idea what you
I said the thing you say 5 minutes from now. That's what does it.
I don't understand.
My breaking point.
5
minutes from now, you say something and I snap.
Oh,
that's
your breaking point.
Yes, that was my joke. Sorry, it wasn't very clear, but it worked in my head. I should have workshopped it more.
I didn't know who the POV person was. I was kind of.
In 5 minutes, I'm gonna crawl through your computer screen like the girl from The Ring.
I'm gonna take my cell phone. I'm gonna snap it in half. Use that glass to just absolutely slash it.
Hey, Austin, when we finally
that's way too well thought out.
On the fly, believe it or not. On the fly.
When we finally get to October this year, Austin, can we finally do The Ring?
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Because I wanted to work that in last year and we didn't have a place for it.
Yeah, I love that movie.
I too. I don't care what Vince says.
Get out of here, Vince.
Get out of here, Vince. All right. Well, anyway, that was my topic.
Yeah, the last thing I have to say about that is that if Rome still existed, we wouldn't have this breaking point. We would have evolved past that. But because Rome fell, we all have that breaking point.
And if Rome
tripped us up.
If Rome had stuck around, they would have had good licensed games in the first place.
Gladiatorial games.
They wouldn't.
Gladiator. That'd be a good game.
Yeah, it would.
But Rome had one bad day, literally, because they fell.
Well, that's true. Pompeii certainly had one bad day.
Pompeii went away in a day. Rome fell, didn't build it in a day.
Yeah, though. We've had some good like Greek mythology based games, especially God of War and stuff like that. I even like Dante's Inferno. Okay, but it'd be nice to get some more like relatively historically accurate like Roman history games. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, that was something cool about like Assassin's Creed as a game idea. Then it like fell off, but just being like, here is well, I think the second one's the one that takes place in Rome, and you can like hang out with Da Vinci, and he gives you like the flying machine.
That's amazing.
And I've still never played any of those. I should probably do that at some point.
Like I feel like that type of thing is really cool in video games, where it's like, okay, here is like a historical point. Let's go there, and you can kind of interact with people from that era.
They did that in Star Trek a few times. Katarina.
Yeah, especially in Voyager.
Cap knows what I'm talking
ran
about.
Out of ideas. Anyway, I need to get going, but I appreciate you guys. Thanks to Brandon and Austin for bringing some cool topics, or Austin for just sitting around until he thought of one. And Brandon and I will be back next Tuesday for another Cap Loves Brandon, and we're going to do the next couple episodes of Star Trek Discovery, if everything goes according to plan. And we'll have more stuff on the channel proper this week. And not too long from now, Austin and I will be getting back more or less to our regular schedule. And we'll start doing, because I know folks are going to ask about this, we'll start doing requests again. And we'll be doing the Rewind commentaries twice a month. So lots of stuff coming. Anyway, we got to get going. Tom Atkins, ask us that next time, because that's a great question. But I've got
my short answer for that is I think no, but who knows?
Okay. Anyway, we'll see you real soon. I was Captain Logan. This was Brandon.
It was I, Brandon.
And Austin. The day goes.
See you, folks.
Bye.
Bye, buddy.